We are. It's Wednesday night.
It's Wednesday night. I was like, whoa, whoa, oh, oh, there it is.
Well, I just got done having the wicked springtime thunderstorm over here, so hopefully we have power and I don't flood. Right?
Yeah,
But,
ours passed earlier. Ours came
yeah.
by earlier. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you didn't have a lightning rod in your hand apparently, so
No,
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we got in here tonight. We got Dakota's timeout was the first one in. Bruce Coltgen, David James, mostly old parts, Ron Ward. Good evening, folks. And I got to do it in Ron Ward voice. Good evening, folks.
Good evening, folks.
That's why I'm not an announcer. Okay. Let's see. Tom Brown, Slant Daily Garage. What's up, suckers? Nick the Van Man, Clayton's Toolbox, Rick Salmon, Blue Grit Garage, Fab Race Mod Repeat from Northeast Dragway, and let's see, Danny Boyd, Unity Motorsports Garage. Howdy, folks. Been out doing burnouts in Project Sleeper Chevelle. Nice. So I guess he's having a freaking fantastic time in that Chevelle. I did see it all dressed up to be a sleeper at the track, and it does look like a stock GM crate motor. So
that's perfect.
Yeah, here's good evening, Dallas. He must have heard me. Good evening, Ron. Howdy, y'all. Let's see, LP94, which is Lars. Let's see, out of JB's camp. Sand Mountain Ballistics, Mohawk 62, Colleen Tebow, Michael Schmidt. And I think that's it. I think we're all caught up. Oh, and this guy popped in.
Oh, Mr. John Wilburn, bringer the No Name National.
Yeah, the bringer.
The bringer. Hey, and everyone who's here right now, just I'm just going to announce it. After our show, pop on over to John Wilburn's channel. He's going to have RT211 over there. What was it? RT211 Racing or what? I forget the name.
Trying to get Mr. Ross Rennie has the Challenger.
Yeah.
Trying to get him over 500 subs.
Yeah, RT211 Racing. He's trying to get him over 500 subs. He's the one who's got the really awesome Challenger over there, his home track, Sykeston. So pop on over his channel after this one at 9 o'clock, so that way you can get him up there and go subscribe to him. If one of our mods is on here, pop up a link. Everyone here, go like the channel. Let's get him to 500. It's an awesome car, and he posts all the time about him racing at Sykeston, so it's really cool.
Well, it'd be cool if everybody went over there and subbed to him right now, and he had over 500 when they even started. So then it was like just a wash, John's like, oh, now I'm committed for an hour.
We might mess you up, John.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have Professor P back. He took the last week off, last minute for family emergencies.
Yeah.
So, I actually asked John Wilburn to jump in here. Surprise, surprise. So, but yeah, the last week went off without a hitch, so no big deal.
Yeah.
Let's see. What was I doing last week? Oh, I was at the Buick National. So I went back. It rained. Let's see. Thursday. I was there Thursday, and it rained a little bit, and Friday it rained a whole bunch, and then Saturday was apparently pretty good. So but I missed out. I had my kids this past weekend, so I didn't go back after I came home. When it looked like it was going to rain the whole entire day on Friday, I'm like, man, I'm not sitting here doing all this. So let's see. Danny Boyd says I was going to overhead valve swap my Toro deck today, but couldn't bring myself to cannibalize the donor mower. So I got the donor running by doing a guitar string rebuild on the carb. Sweet. Well, and that's like, if you're looking at mowers, the biggest thing that murders them is like the freaking ethanol fuel, right?
Yes.
Carburetors get all screwed
sitting
up
with ethanol fuel.
Right. Yeah, that's the big one. So, that like you can go out and bag a mower pretty cheap these days. Especially a rider compared to go look and see what a new rider costs at Lowe's or Home Depot. And you'll see how much you can save by just snagging a riding lawnmower off of Marketplace and fixing a carb.
It's totally worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the good thing is the rest of the world doesn't know how to mess with a carb. So you're in the right place to learn right now.
Yeah. In fact, I'm going to go full John Wilburn here. Today, exactly 3 years ago, I bought my very first tractor.
You're right along. Yeah, we're not from the Midwest. He's from California where he didn't even have to mow.
Yeah, so look at that. I bought that 3 years ago today, to this day, and our yard was just destroyed because we never seen anything grow like this out here. Where California, it's mostly dead. It grows for about a month and then it dies and then it's brown. Nothing keeps growing.
Yeah,
So,
here, no problem. You better be mowing it once a week.
yeah, sometimes twice. Yeah.
Let's see here. Wheelie King said he's already swooped in there and subbed to
Nice.
RT211. So
I'm keeping track of it right now. I got it
yeah,
up here on the
Andy's saying,
screen.
well, Andy's saying it's when it started it was at 448. So
Yeah, it's at 449 right now.
yeah. Well, John Wilburn says 52 in one night would be wild. No, that's cool. All right.
Yeah. As far as what we were doing this last weekend, I drove all the way out to Newport drag strip out there in Arkansas. You want to talk about a drag strip that's like, it's like one step below a road,
Below
a road. It's it's a 1940s drag strip. It's got cracks on it about this far that go between there. The concrete is it's something it should be resurfaced. And I rode my bicycle down the track, because I was looking at some of the there's potholes, so I got my hats off to Mr. Mopar Joe over there, because that's like his home track that he goes to. So yeah, I mean, I made a few squirts down the track. I did get a chance to turn the nitrous on though, because it was just so damn hot. It was like 95 on the track, and I couldn't get my bottle pressure
No,
under
it wasn't
1,000
95
pounds.
on the track. You told me it was 95 degrees there and it was 140 on the track.
Yeah, it was 95 as far as at the track, but yeah, the asphalt was 140 degrees. The starting line was 140.
Yeah,
That's
so
hot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So Tom Brown's asking, did I get the engine sold? No takers. So it's back in my garage. I got it up on Facebook Marketplace, and I'm dealing with all the illustrious buyers on Facebook Marketplace messaging you. Like,
Is it still
hey,
available?
does it have a 1972 motor mount on the passenger side? Yes. It's just
put it on
ridiculous stuff. But do I get the stand if I buy it? No. That's why it says engine. But okay. So looks like Levi, Dylan Levi is busy working on brakes in his parents' basement. So, huh.
To me, that's hard to conceive, because I've never seen a house with a basement before. So, like, how do you get a car down to the basement? Is there like a garage?
He did not have a car in the basement. Just is working on the brakes in the basement.
Oh, okay. Well,
take the brakes off and take them into the garage. I don't know, or in the basement in this case.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to find a good question. Any issue? Okay, here we go. Clayton's Toolbox. Any issues using solid lifters on an aggressive hydraulic flat tappet cam? It is a comp cam.
No. In fact, I was going to talk about that at the 8 o'clock, hardcore tech time, but really it's not. You can, and in fact, I actually prefer that with Slant 6s. Here's the thing though, is that they're very aggressive. So you really don't want to use a ton of RPM, and the lash is very important, because that's where the things go exponential. Hydraulic masters or profiles are actually more aggressive than solids, believe it or not. And typically, if you're going to go with a hydraulic profile, you're going to want to be 10 degrees less than you would be on a solid, on average, not all the time, but on average. So like, let's just say you want 230 on a solid, start right around 220 usually on a hydraulic, because it's that much faster. Plus you're going to be setting it really, tight, 8 thousandths typically. So like on Gilbert Slanted Sled, I made the cam for that. That's like 212, 216 or 217. I can't remember off the top of my head. Duration of 50 people. Oh, that's really small. We'll add 10 degrees to that, or even 12 on this profile. And so that's like in the mid 220s on a Slant 6. So it's going to be rather fast. So just, yes, you can. What I would do is find out what profiles they are, and I have a master profile for those, but usually somewhere between 6 and 8, I would play with it. Remember, a noisy valve is a happy valve, so I would start on the bigger end. I would try to like maybe try 8 and 10. 10 is on the very verge. That's the biggest I would ever go in a hydraulic. So then, if it's noisy there when it gets hot, then go 2000s tighter when it's cold. But yeah, you could do it. In fact, that's what my Slant 6 has got.
Yeah, they used to be the old school trick because
It's
the liquor is so much lighter.
Yeah, in fact, all those newfangled tight lash cams, all they are is just hydraulic profiles that people are just putting solid lifters on. That's all it is.
All right. Well, Ron Ward has a question here. Just bought a Holley 830 annular discharge double pumper for a song. Why are these carbs only recommended for light cars with high stall converters? I want to put it on the Roadrunner with 391 gears.
I don't know on that one. I've never heard that before. Have you?
No, but you know what I think it is because it's an annular booster.
Yeah,
and you got to have a lot of signal.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what the whole idea was, to get the RPM up quick.
Yeah, because the signal's only going to be good for high RPM.
Yeah, and I think that's all it is. But now you can change that up by having bigger cubic inch and lower RPM, right? It's going to have a really good signal as long as you don't have some big gnarly cam with no vacuum.
Yeah, Ron, what are you going to put it on? Because that's the big key.
Like, it's on this Roadrunner with 391 gears.
Yeah, but what's
a stick?
Is it a 440 car or is it a 383?
I think it's a 383.
Oh, so that's going to be right on the verge. You know, an 830 on a 383 is kind of big, but it's stick shift car, so you control that with your right foot. So just RPM.
I think it'll work just fine. To be honest with you,
fine. Yeah, it'll be fine. You got stick shift.
Let's see. Iceman 2K10 says, Shane, in one of your videos, you're using a steel needle and seat. Might have been 150 thousandths.
Yep.
Can you use those on the street with pump gas, or do you need the needle or the rubber needle and seat?
No, I actually use those on everything. You just got to run a good filter. Here's the issues. The rubber ones allow a little bit of crap to get in there and it'll still seal, where the other one will not. So you got to have a good filter and a good filtering system. Yes, I always run every carburetor I have that you take apart is going to have a 150 stainless steel needle and seat. And they work well. And I always drop the pressure down by about half a pound to a pound. Typically it's about a pound because you're going to still get the same amount of volume in the carburetor without the air. And that's really what you're getting. And that's a dyno proven technique to make more power with just the same combination. Sometimes you have to change the jets even smaller. So like, let's just say your carb runs great on like 82s. I've seen it to where you have to drop down to 81s or 80s just by doing this, because there's so much less air in the system, and it really does help out.
You'd think air in the system would actually help atomize, but I guess not.
No, because air going through the jet takes up fuel, since the air bleed on top is what mixes it. Yeah. So you're basically leaning out the mixture and it's getting less fuel. So you have to add more fuel, which means add more air. So it's a compounding effect, because now you're adding more air, more speed. Everything goes the wrong way.
Nick the Van Man says it hurts to type. I did a pair of exhaust manifolds on a 390 FE powered 74 F250 today without removing the heater box.
Oh,
so I don't know if it's tight. It sounds like it's tight.
It is. My very first engine I ever did was on a Ford F. It was an F-150, and it had a 390 FE in it, and that whole side literally is just covered by the air box. It goes right into that whole compartment. Man, it was just a nightmare. That was.
Oh, Tom Brown says, I think I finally found my vacuum leak on the GS. The brake booster is wheezing after I shut the car off. You know, I never, ever replaced a brake booster in my life up until like 2017 or 16. I troubleshot something. It drove me nuts. It seemed like a vacuum leak and I could not find it. And finally, I just plugged everything and then got it running. And I'm like, wow, it runs so much better. Right. And then it just hooked up one thing at a time.
I did the same thing.
And it's like, the brake booster, are you kidding me? So I replaced it, and yeah, that was it. But then I did one just like a year later. I'm like, there's no way the brake booster's bad on this sucker. You know, that would be like the second time ever in my life. And it was on the Suburban. Yep. And come to find out it was bad. So let's see. Scott's from Heaven's Mopars is stopping in. Mopars, Mustangs, and minivans. Hitting the second AM on there. We picked up a Mustang with a 5.0 and has 1 6-roller rockers on the heads. I wanted to ask Shane, how hard is it to figure out what cam I have with no numbers on the cam?
Just degree of the cam. I made a video on it. Is that what you're trying to do? Just put the cam back in and put a degree to the number 1. Obviously, Fords are a little funky because it's on the passenger side, and then just degree the cam. I made a video on how to do it. It's if you're good with the degree wheel, it'll take you 10 minutes.
Well, so Ron Ward chimed in here. He said his Roadrunner's a 440 now. I thought it was a 383.
That's perfect. Tell him it's going to run.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah,
it'll have tons of velocity through there at idle.
Oh, and that cam's good too. That's a good cam. So yeah, it's going to work perfect because that's going to be a high velocity. You're going to love it. It's going to run bitching. Don't even stress it. Oh, Nick the Van Man. Right below it.
He's just talking to Damien saying Mopar Mustangs and minivans. The factory ratio is 1.6 on a 5.0. Okay. So Iceman 2K10 says, thanks, Shane. Okay. Val 360 Jimmy says, hi, fellas. Other than port matching, what else would I get done to stock 6.4 Hemi heads without running an otherwise good head? I think those things come with good heads, right?
Yeah, 6.4 Apache head is like one of the top heads out there for factory for almost all engines. The 6.2 is just a little bit bigger. The 6.2 is the one that for the Hellcat, it just breathes a little better on the exhaust. But on a 6.4, I mean, they're flowing like 360 CFM right out of the box. Honestly, just go get a good valve job, and that's going to be enough airflow for just over 700 horse without even RPMing it. I can tell you right off the bat that a stock 6.4 with a camshaft will put 500 horsepower to the tires. That is with just a camshaft. That's in factory trim. You do a few other things, you can get more out of them. The people I send my stuff to get ported is Frankenstein. They've got an awesome porting job there, system, and they flow exactly what they say they flow. My 5.7 Eagle heads that I had ported for my 6.1, the road race, the Desert Dart, I went with the 5.7 because it's a smaller valve and it's on a 6.1, so I wanted to keep the high velocity. But man, they said they would flow 360 CFM or 364, and it flowed like 365. So it was dead on. So if you're looking to get them ported, go to Frankenstein. But other than that, it depends on what you're building. But if you're just building something that's going to rev to like say 7,000 RPM and try to make 500 horse, leave them alone. Just do a valve job on them, change the springs, and put a cam in it.
So I guess we must have misread that because he's saying ruining, not running, boys. Sorry, thanks. So fellas, other than port matching, what else should I get done to the stock 6.4 Hemi heads without ruining an otherwise good head?
Yeah, really, the answer still remains running or ruining,
right?
Yeah,
like send them to Frankenstein or leave them stock.
Yeah, it depends on what you're doing, And in Frankenstein, I think it's like, well, it was about $1,000 or something like that, or maybe 1,100. I'm probably misquoting, but yeah, if like I said before, just run them stock for most of us.
Well, Tom Brown asks, is there a calculation formula for figuring out what static compression ratio on an unknown engine using the cranking compression numbers? I think that's
you can, but it's going to be close.
Yeah, it's all cam dependent.
Yeah,
it's like what interstate or what
camshaft overlap installed.
Right. I was going to say the intake center line it's installed on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right? Intake center line, lobe separation angle, cam duration. I mean, there's so many factors involved in it. By the time you got all the factors and all that equated into it, it would just be easier to figure it out because you're going to need to basically take half the engine apart anyways to get what you need.
Oh, let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, it's about 360. Jimmy says valve job, and I won't touch anything else. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
exactly, and do the valve job yourself, man. Just check it. Go down and get some of that lapping compound from Napa, and just seed it. Just basically turn it up, put some alcohol in it, see if it's leaking. If it's not leaking, pop it back, look at it, and just lap them and call it good. Let her eat.
Well, here's Ron is asking Shane, have you ever sent anything to be extrude honed?
Yes. When I was racing two strokes, I used to extrude hone some of the intakes for those that would go down because you had to run a factory intake, basically a switch which held the reed valve. So I used to do that quite a bit, and then I used to extrude honed the ports on them. That was back before you could put in sleeves and whatnot. So yes, I've done a lot of extrude honing, and I did one for a guy who was running manifolds in that FAST class, the fast class, because you had to run factory manifolds on it. I was thinking about doing it on one of my Slant 6s, but I don't know. I didn't find anyone in this area. There was one in San Diego who did it. That's the only reason why I had the access to it.
Yeah, well, see, and it's hard to find places around here.
Yeah.
See, where you're at now, like Memphis used to be
Mecca.
the town to get all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure what happened is all them businesses got robbed on a daily basis in their parking lot.
They're just moving out of Memphis. They're just
now they just
like
moved
a
away.
donut.
Yeah,
doing a
there's a huge
donut around. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. Yeah, they're getting out of ground zero, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that a lot of those places moved out of Memphis. So, but they used to have all that stuff right there.
Yeah.
I guess Mississippi's becoming the new place.
Yeah. Tax breaks for real. You just want to stay out of Shelby County if you're in Tennessee.
Oh, well, trust me, I am. Okay, Aunt D, interesting on the needles, on the steel needle and seat with the power increase. I tried to use a neoprene needle and seat on my Model A. The needle got stuck closed from the lack of fuel pressure.
Yeah,
I can believe that.
Yeah, and what's cool too is I think it's AED. I think that's the name of the place. I just got a new set of needle and seats, 150s, and instead of it being a point, it's a ball, and so knowing how physics work and hydraulics, when a fluid moves over a ball, it splits it perfectly. And it's like a dome. It's awesome, and the slots are bigger on it. So I actually just put those in my the Edelnator because I had 150s in it, and then I put these other ones in there, and we're gonna see how they run. I actually had them in there when I went to Newport, but I couldn't really. It was so damn hot there, I couldn't even really get the car to go anywhere.
Ron Ward's asking, does the extrude honing damage the valve seats?
Yeah, you got to pop them out. Yeah, I would do it on it.
Yeah, that's a serious abrasive that they put.
Yeah, it literally
a
eats
lot of
it.
pressure.
Yeah, and it's high pressure. It might as well be like clay that they're putting in through high pressure. I did it on two strokes, so I don't know if they would do it on. I don't know if you'd want to do it on a head. Maybe an intake. I mean, that would be kind of cool.
Well, I had a Ford Lightning intake manifold lower one.
Yeah.
No, it was the upper. I'm sorry. I thought it was the lower, but it's the upper. The lower was done by hand. The upper was extrude honed.
Yeah.
And
it's quite common for that.
Yeah, but that's because you can't get in there with any tools on the Ford Lightning uppers, right? They're all tubular. All
yeah.
Right. Let's see. Tall Garage is saying, "Hey Dallas, how do you like your Holly HP? I've seen good deals on them secondhand. I like it a lot. That's what made me the believer in the Holly EFI, and then the Sniper almost took that away by itself. But yeah, I like my Holly HP. If you're going multi-port, there's no reason not to have the Holly HP because it's the entry level, and generally most guys want to run the Terminator. So you find those HP computers and bits and pieces and parts. I don't know if you knew this, but the Holly Holly EFI when it first came out was an a la carte system. So you could literally buy the engine wiring harness, which would be the same for a Dominator or an HP, or way back when they used to have one called the Avenger, which it's still the same. It's essentially the same harness, but it just had 4 injectors. But yeah, I really like my HP. I can't say it's flawless. It's had its own little ups and downs, but I think I got it pretty sorted out now, and it's pretty dang close. Ron Ward does not like downtown Memphis proper.
I haven't been when I first moved here. I've only been here 3.5 years. I mean, that sounds long now, but it was actually decent almost 3 years ago. I think it's gotten worse since I've been here.
It's gotten considerably worse since I was a child.
Well, yeah, but I'm just talking about 3 years since I've been here. When I first got here, I was downtown and it was fine. Now, I just avoid that. I drive a different freeway to go around it.
Heavens Mopars asks, what heads would you recommend for a 383 with TRW high compression pistons? Would stock 906 heads clear? If so, what would happen if the engine couldn't breathe like it would need to? Well, okay, I don't know what a 906 head is. I'm sure that's for your standard big block, like a 440.
Yes, and it's an open chamber deal.
Okay, and so it's probably got really big valves in it compared to what would come on a 383. Because a 383 isn't it a big bore short stroke deal?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact, but I had a 383 and I put 906 heads on it, and then I put 452 heads on it. The difference between the 906 and 452s is just about the hardened seats. It's really all the ports are really kind of close, except for if you have the likes of the 915 or the Max Wedge. They all flow really similar on them. I mean, you're splitting hairs by numbers, but when you have a 383 with high compression pistons, remember that's for a different type of head. And when you're running a 906, you're going to have a small stroke. And if it's a flat top style piston, high compression is kind of relative. So I think maybe 11-1 on those. I'm pretty sure. I'm not really exactly sure the compression on that, but it should be fine because stock 906 valves are, man, I want to say they're like 214 or I think it's just 214.
Even if they're like the valves are big and you're going to shroud really bad in the cylinder wall, right? You still got the let's say 90% of that big huge ass valve in there. So I mean, as long as it's not touching the cylinder wall, you'll be okay.
Yeah, and I think 906 heads came factory at some point. I'm not sure what anything, but I have a book here somewhere. I don't know, maybe I don't. But 906 heads is kind of was like the driver head for until they went to the hardened seat ones. Oh, John Wilburn said it was 208 174. That's the stock on it, so it should be fine. It's going to be totally fine as long as it has stock valves.
Let's see here. Oh,
thanks,
so
John.
A Cove is saying the 440 and 383 use the same casting.
Exactly. Yeah, the same thing.
Let's see. John's saying that downtown Memphis businesses literally have signs that read, pull up your pants, no marijuana, no drunks. They all have bars on the windows and doors.
Yeah.
Yeah, that place is a dump.
It is a dump.
Oh, here you go. Ron Ward saying that they came with 906 heads from 68 to 70.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's see.
That was the Magnum or whatever it was, the high performance one.
Let's see here. And John saying 208, 174. And Nick the Van Man saying, Wilburn, that exhaust valve size is bigger than a Ford GT40P intake valve. No, they're 188s.
I'm looking up that cam right now. Dash 9.
Are you talking about for D150?
Yeah.
Okay, so comp cam's part number, blah, blah, blah. Solid roller for big block Mopar. The cam card says intake center line and it's blank. The LSA is 108. Can you find out the intake center line? The website does not show it either.
Well, yeah, because it's a racing cam, so you basically dictate that
you determine where you want it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole reason on that one. Most people are going to put those either. It depends on where you want the RPM range as far as where you want the torque. Typically 106. You can put them on a 108 or even a 104. Really, what I would do is I would install it and then just line it up dot to dot, degree it, then check valve drop to see how close your valve is, and then just move it around to where it's going to work.
Right, based on what RPM band you want.
Yeah,
right?
and
2
also
degrees or 4 degrees.
Piston to valve clearance. That's what I would really check for. Is make sure you got adequate piston to valve clearance, and then call it good. But yeah, that is correct. I'm looking at it right now, and that is 263, 270 on a 108. So that thing's going to talk to you. It's going to boogity, boogity, boogity.
Let's see. Ron Ward's telling me that the 383 had a 4.25-inch bore. So, yeah, that's pretty big.
Yeah. Yeah. And its rounding isn't an issue. Exactly. That's, I couldn't remember the bore of a 383. I just couldn't remember on top of my head. I knew they were all big.
Oh, well, they might be 184, but I thought they were 188. I could have been wrong. Okay.
Yeah, Ron's saying it right there. 383 two-barrel and the 446 barrel use the exact same castings. That's correct, because it was literally the same. I remember that. I remember, I found a 440, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to get these heads, because I had a 400. And it was a 906, and I was like, at the junkyard. Yeah, it was the same
speaking of that, I just went the other day, and I had to get some exhaust manifolds off this 76 LeSabre. And yeah, you know how it is in the junkyard. You show up, it's always got to be the hottest day of the year. There's mud up to your ankles, right? And of course, we're having the cicada apocalypse here in Central Tennessee or Middle Tennessee. I don't know how it is in Memphis area, but we got them cicadas. I mean, like they're literally like landing on everything. And so I'd go out there and break every freaking bolt off, and I'm still sore, like from breaking every bolt off. And I used all the leverage I possibly could getting in there. But yeah, not one single bolt really wanted to come out worth of crap. And so I had to break them all off.
There's actually a really good question here. Nick the Van Man 90.
Okay. And let's see, question. Why do narrow LSA cams typically make more overall horsepower and torque in dyno testing than wider LSAs? I consider narrow LSA 104 to 109 and wider 112 and 116.
It's overlap. It's scavenging. So let's just say a 108. Okay. And your typical engine, let's just call it since we're talking about big blocks, let's just go to a 440. If you're on a 108, you're going to help with scavenging. Now, 440s are really underheaded. So they like tight LSAs because it's going to help with scavenging. It's going to help it breathe better. Here's the thing is that whenever you're running a tight LSA, typically, not all, but 99% of the time, you're going to narrow up the band. So you're going to have, it's going to come in, it's going to make great mid-range. It's going to make great, horsepower, but it's going to fall off a little faster. That's great for a street car so that they work well in the street. Why a lot of drag cars run wider LSAs is because if you're running a 5,000 stall, what do you care what it makes at 4,000 RPM? You're only worried about what it makes from 5,000 up. So typically, wider LSAs, 99.9% of the time, are going to make more power on the very top end, at the very end of the power band, because there's going to be less scavenging on there, and then there's going to be less overlap. So you're going to be putting out the fire less. You can go and watch 100 videos. I mean, the Engine Masters has done it, and yes, the tighter LSAs are going to make way more mid-range torque, but then you'll see on the wider ones at the very end, that's where they take off. So that's the reason why they do make more mid-range, but as far as overall power, it's going to be hard to find a 108 that's going to beat a 114 at the top of the power band. But it's just scavenging. That's all it is. And timing of the valves, intake valve opening, closing.
It would be pulsing too, and then scavenging from the exhaust across the pulse.
Yeah, exactly. And that the most important event is the intake closing event, and then also too when you widen it out, you're just changing the dynamics of when the exhaust is opening and closing relative to the intake. So you're going to have less time. It's going to be spread apart fast. So you're going to be closing the exhaust valve a little sooner. So it really does. It does help out.
Blue Grit Garage says, I'm looking at my Cleveland block, and the block is notched for valve clearance. This is a 2V engine. Yeah. And in the Cleveland, I don't know what size a 2V valve is. I know on my Cleveland heads, mine are 4-barrel Cleveland heads on the Thunderbird, and I want to say they're 219 or 220, something like that, intake valves. But the Cleveland only having a 4-inch bore is going to be what limits that. But that's been an old trick for a long time, is notching the block. right? So it didn't shroud the valve as bad up at the top.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good trick. You can actually do it on anything, really. But if you look at some of the gaskets from the factory, they're actually kicked in right there where the valve's at, so it doesn't shroud as bad, and you can actually follow that pattern and not your block. Okay,
Wheelie King here's got a good one right here.
this one here
Yeah,
reminds me of guys that think they're doing themselves a favor running a bunch of oil in their 2-cycle premix, not understanding that they're leaning the AFR and killing the top end running lean.
100% true. In fact, I used to have a friend who used to think that he ran. I ran my engines at 50-1, right? And he would run his at 32-1, and we were running the same jet. And he's like, man, how are you doing that? You know, and I'm like, well, you're actually running more oil and less fuel. It's smoking because it's inefficient. And I'm just walking away from you because I'm technically burning more fuel because there's more fuel in there and there's less oil in there. But they're the same jet, but I have less oil and mine's not smoking. So that's where it wants to be. His would have this goop on the exhaust pipe, where the exhaust pipe, it's got springs on it. It would have that black goop pouring out because it would just be coated inside everything.
So much oil.
Yeah, but yeah, that's he is. Wheelie King's right, because I had a KX500 and man, I love that thing. I miss that thing.
Michael Schmidt says RPM limit based on piston speed for a 6-cylinder with a 4.75 inch stroke and 3.25 inch bore. What piston speed generally considered high? What piston speed is cruising? All right. You need to know the rod too. Well, actually you don't, but
well, yeah. On this one, you would need to know the. I actually, Michael, I have a formula for that. I don't have it in my phone. I was actually just looking to see if I had that pictured here, but you know, basically it's flame front. I think it was, and I'm going to say it wrong, and someone's going to correct me because remember it's a live show. Now I have my notes here. I think it's 25,000 feet per second. If I'm thinking right. That's really, really, really high. That's like Formula One speeds. And if you have a 4.75 stroke,
you can easily achieve that.
You can easily achieve that.
Yeah, that stroke has gotten so far away from the center of the crank.
Yeah.
I mean, think of the speed of just that outside. Yeah. I mean,
and if you have a short rod, it's going to be even faster through the mid part, you know, as far as pull down, because it's going to have that short rod that's going to want to
yanking it.
Yeah, yank. Yeah, exactly. So really, Michael, yeah, send that one to me. Or I'll look into that. In fact, give me a second. I'll take a picture of it here. And there we go. I got a picture of it. I'll respond to you. I got you in my Slant Daily Garage at Yahoo, and I'll let you know.
Ron Ward says that 4-barrel Clevelands have valves big enough to use as umbrellas.
Yes.
You
could see it. You could see the piston through the valve.
Shane was like, when I had the intake manifold off the T-Bird last year, I was putting that tunnel ram on. He was like, God dang, look how big the freaking ports are.
Yeah. I was like, no wonder your car's so awesome. I was like, look at that. You can it casts a shadow. It's like a tunnel. Like, hello, it echoes as it comes.
Well, believe it or not, I did that on purpose because I was running a Windsor GT40P before that. And it's wow. I'm done fooling around with stuff that's breaking or expensive for no reason. If I'm going to spend $2,000 on a set of heads, what does $2,000 buy me for a set of heads? Right? Because if you just look at the number, it's like, what does $2,000 get you? Well, you don't have to buy a AFR 185. You could go buy AFD 4-barrel Cleveland racehead. So, yeah. LC2 kid said he looked for me at the GS Nats. I was over on the swap meet row, man, trying to sell my stinking engine, and no one took me up on it. And let's see, what I sold. I didn't sell a dang thing. I had stuff out there to sell, but I was the only guy out there that had 300 parts. And you know what? I had about 25 old guys walk by like, man, I had a set of those heads and an intake manifold and a 64 LeSabre. Those things are rare as hell. And no one bought them. So apparently it wasn't rare as hell to entice anybody to buy them. But I was out there and then it rained. And then I didn't come back after Thursday night. I stayed there in the party in the pits, and then loaded up, and I went home.
I called you on the way home. You're just like, oh, I'm going home.
Yeah, I was wrecked, man. I was tired. The sun beat me down. The rain beat me down. Not selling anything beat me down. So, yeah, I don't think 300 parts. I'm going to put a lot of money in those anymore.
No.
They just don't have the bang for the buck.
You know what's funny is when I started messing with Slant 6s, nobody was even touching them. It was like such a niche little thing. And now they're so much more popular. It's weird. It
No,
really
it's
is.
in the Midwest. They've always been popular.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, you didn't see it out in California because nobody was fooling with them out there.
No, nothing. No.
Yeah.
They were just basically like Freiberger says, they make a really good sound at the bottom of a trash can.
Let's see. Dylan Levi's asking, does staging control bump boxes belong in bracket racing? You don't want my opinion on this. You don't, because it's going to hurt your feelings.
Here's my thing about that, man. You don't need it because it's bracket racing. You're just running a number. So, I mean, if you need, I don't know, man.
I hate electronics and bracket racing.
Yeah.
Learn to be a skilled driver, and you don't have to worry about one of them pieces of shit. That's my opinion. But that's just my take on it. You might find other guys like, I don't know, anybody else would welcome you with open arms as if you wanted to run as many electronics as possible. I hate them. It's ruined bracket racing. It's ruined sportsman racing. I hate electronics. It should be all driver input. And if you don't like that, well, you can go run something else, like a space shuttle. But yeah, if you want to deal with electronics, have fun with that.
If you want to see how electronics ruin the sport, just go look at Super Gas. Isn't it Super Gas or Pro Comp?
Oh yeah, it's Super Gas. It's Super Comp.
Yeah,
all of them.
Just
yeah, most boring thing you ever watched in your life.
Yeah.
And the coolest thing that I've ever done in my life was watching the guy next to me do that while I let that sucker eat on the back bumper, bouncing it in second gear. Right. And that dude was like, what the hell? Okay. So Levi's asking, did I see a blue Buick Regal with a black hood turbo LS? He's a good friend. If it's got a turbo LS, I don't think they were letting them run. Maybe, but I don't know. I didn't walk around looking for anyone there, honestly. I only went up to the staging lanes when they were doing, let's see, what were they doing? The GSR class, the Grand Sport race car class, and then I think the Quick 16, I went up there and watched the Quick 16 for a few minutes at the drags. The rest of the time I was down in the pits, or not the pits, the swap meet area. So I was, and if you would have cruised through with some moonshine, I would have actually probably sipped off of that. I have no problems with that stuff. But you know, I didn't see you apparently, but and I don't know what you would look like. So you got to remember that. So I have no photo representation of you. I just know you as LC2 Kid. So let's see. Levi's backyard performance. What about in a turbo deal that bracket races? I foot brake my turbo car before. Man, I tell you what, you don't need it. It's bracket racing.
Yeah, you don't need it.
Right? You don't need a turbo. You don't need nitrous. You don't need none of that stuff. If you want to go fast, just straight fast, go out there and test and tune and give that thing all the beans at once.
Yeah.
And see what happens. See what it really runs. Otherwise, bracket racing, you're in the wrong. A turbo car is the world's worst bracket car on the planet. It is so inconsistent just getting down the track. No two passes are the same. Like if you look at my T-Bird, that was the deadliness of that car was that it's an NA combination, and it runs consistent NA numbers, right? So it was a bracket car. It was meant to be a bracket car that was based off of a street car. And then it kind of got out of hand when I found out I could run 990s, and then I went to super gas. And I'm like, that's the end all be all bracket class. And then when I saw everybody running throttle stops and delay boxes, it absolutely just freaking, my heart sank. And then once everybody started complaining because they didn't know how to deal with a car that didn't have that stuff, then I noticed, hey, this is fun. I really like doing this, pissing these guys off.
Yeah.
Let's see. Most old parts. Ron says, do you guys have any experience with thermoquads from a 401A or international pickup? I picked up one for $20 that is clean.
I know
I do
nothing about
not.
thermoquads, man. I literally just anything like that. I just didn't mess with them. I was Edelbrock or Holly guy.
Well, in my high school days, thermoquads were distressed merchandise. Any Mopar that had those on there, they were cracked and leaking like so bad because of the plastic would get hot and split, right? Or it would even worse was there's like these rubber O-rings that seal everything up top, and those would go bad, and you'd have massive vacuum leaks. You couldn't figure out what it was, and then Carter had been bought out at that point, and you couldn't get replacement parts for them.
Yeah.
So
every Mopar I got, I fixed it by changing the thermoquad. I literally just took it off. It's like jacking up the carburetor, rolling the whole car out, and then jacking down an Edelbrock right on top of it, and it worked just fine.
Well, mine was the thermoquad was easily replaced with a quadrajet because it's the same freaking flange, right? And it still gave you the gates of hell when you open up the secondaries. So, yeah, I love it. But no, I don't know anything about them. And they're, like I said, they were in the early 90s. Those things were so bad. They would leak everywhere. And they just didn't have the longevity. I think, to be honest with you, if somebody was to really take on thermoquads and make like a newer phenolic or like 3D print the plastic for that main body, I think you could freaking rule the world with that thing and update it to some newer O-rings and stuff like that. Some different size O-rings that you can get that are plentiful. But let's see. Mopars, Mustangs, and minivans. That would be a great bracket reset. No name nationals. No electronic assist. That's called foot brake class. In any other. See, the problem is if you were to do that, the next year, the guy that didn't win would be so butthurt. He would show up with a mechanical long throw button that's essentially a delay box, but it's not electronic, and you can't throw them out. And then he would run through everybody there that's a competitor that was just having fun. That's the biggest problem I've noticed. So, I mean, look, people are willing to change their gender to win a competition. So, I mean, think about how fair they're going to be at the drag strip. Aunt D says, I'm in Massachusetts. Most of my Slant 6s with 904s and a random Slant 6 parts were free.
Yeah. Okay, so I found my piston speed calculator. So it's 2 times the stroke times the RPM, and that equals piston speed. So I just did it real quick. 2 times 4.75 at 5,000 RPM is 47,500 feet per second. It's a little high. It's a little high.
Yeah, and that's just because the stroke is so damn big.
Yeah,
I don't know what the main has got to be on that block, but golly, that's a lot of stroke. Okay, Levi's backyard performance. My car was actually really consistent. I'm talking 9,000, so my time trials and dial-ins. But I suck at the light. LOL. At least with a wiring problem. Okay. Ron's saying that we suck. LOL. Thermoquads are great carbs, and I've never personally had a problem with one, and I've had several. They were, like I'm telling you, man, when I was in high school, all right, that's when these things were pretty much everywhere. Most of the kids from school would show up and their car would run like shit. They bought this like my buddy had a Dodge St. Regis that had a thermoquad on it. Let's see, my other friend had a Diplomat, had a thermoquad on it, but they got them for cheap because they ran like crap. And it was because of the main bodies on them would crack or they'd have a vacuum leak. And no one knew anything about them. So I don't know nothing about them. I'm not saying they're bad or good or indifferent or whatever. I just know the problems that they had. And it took, we'd take them off and put a quadrajet on it because I could get a quadrajet at the junkyard for $15. And then a rebuild kit back then was $10. Right. So that's something that a high school kid could afford. And then you just drop the carb on and go. And it was almost like
also
one for one replacement.
I was using leftover crap that was basically at our junkyard or on its way to the junkyard. So everything that I had, probably had this much sand or mud in the bottom of it anyway. So I never got one to run well, but I never tried. Literally never tried.
Let's see. Michael Schmidt, Dallas. Why did the automated racers hate that you didn't have the equipment you were describing? I don't get it. They didn't hate me. They didn't know how to set their stuff up to automatically win. And so they complained, right? I had the toughest time. I had to work against them that had all the electronics and the car was dialed in to work perfectly with that stuff. But the problem was that it had been 30 years and some of these guys had not been racing 30 years and they didn't know how to race somebody that didn't have it. So it became a point of contention, I guess. And so it was like, oh, this guy's, he's cheating us. We're at a serious disadvantage. No, the only disadvantage you had is you didn't know how to dial to your delay box. So you're freaking out.
Yeah. Right.
I didn't do anything wrong. I mean, I just went up there and was willing to have a good time. And the funniest one was like the guy, when I got the car to run faster than 990, when it got down to 970s, I finally got it dialed in. Right. And they're like, you don't have throttle stop? I'm like, no, because it ran like a 9. I don't know. I think the second time I went, they ran a 984 or something. And the guy was like, well, you're going to have to take some, I have to add some in your throttle stop. And I'm like, no, I don't have one. Right. And the dude says, well, how are you keeping from, going too fast? I said, oh, I'll show you. And then so I took him up there to like 1,000-foot mark. And I'm like, you see this crack right here in the wall? This is where I let off. Right. And the guy's like, this is the stupidest thing I ever heard. I'm like, it's working. I mean, it's not stupid if it works.
Yeah.
But let's see.
Go to Aunt D at 750. It's like
750. I must have missed it.
6, 7. Seven down from that one. Yeah. Yes, that's 2 times stroke times RPM. Now remember, that is just average piston speed. That is not real piston speed because you're not taking into effect rod and length. That does factor in, but what you're seeing is just average piston speed from one top to the bottom. The average piston speed of movement from top to bottom. That can change with the rod.
Okay, so how do you guys handle project burnout? I want to work on something, just not the projects I have. So I buy something new. It's a curse. Dude, I deal with this every day. And I'm going to tell you right now how I deal with it. And you're probably going to think it's dumb. There's going to be a lot of things in your life that you don't want to do. Right? And sometimes you just, as my grandpa used to say, sometimes you just need to pull your pants up a little bit tighter and tighten the belt. And you just go out there and you stomach through it and you do it. And you don't give a fuck about how you feel. It's about getting the project done because you made a commitment to it. And so that's that's what I do. And it makes me worse because I get burned out even more. And then I become irritable and agitated with it. But I don't know. I probably do it the wrong way.
I go play drums.
Probably taking a break is probably the best thing. But going out and buying something else to bear yourself more work, not a good plan, man. Because now you're going to burn yourself out even more.
Yeah, because then you're going to stretch even thinner, and you're going to see less movement on things. And that was the reason why I stopped on the Desert Dart. I noticed that's my dream car, and here I am thrashing on it. And I got this other car that I can get running faster. That's why I went back to the Cookie Monster, got it running, going to do my thing. That way I can put some time into it and slow down on the Desert Dart and build it the way I want to, because I was starting to slightly get burnt out on it.
Ron Ward saying those were what I'm describing was the lean burn years.
Yes. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, they were. And a lot of them, we took the distributors out and the carburetors off and then put regular carburetors and regular distributors in there, and they would run pretty good.
They run great. Yeah.
Yeah. The GM years, we had computer controlled carburetors and stuff like that. And the best thing to do with those was take all that stuff off, put a quadrajet on it and HEI, and voila, you had a car that would go 100,000 miles and just leave all the wiring harness and everything just laying on the fender well. I mean, that was commonplace.
Yeah.
That, sometimes you go cruising on a Friday night, you'd see somebody had like a 83 Grand Prix, and they'd have like this bundle of wires hanging under the car, and you're like, I know what that is.
I knew what's going on there. Yeah.
That's the anti emissions control stuff. So let's see. Levi says starting line electronics need to be banned anyway, but a stage control technically doesn't do anything besides get a more precise by a hair start. Okay, it does do something. And you probably aren't thinking of it like this. That beam that you're rolling into, that you're getting your car precisely set up in, that bump box allows you to put it in the same spot every time, without any skill involved. You're literally going up, turning on essentially the first stage bulb, and then you hit your bump box till the second one comes in, and it goes at an exact amount. Me as a driver, I have to roll that car into each beam and put it in the same spot each time. You only have like about a 4-inch to 6-inch window in there, depending on how tall your tire is, right? Because that second beam is a beam that's, let's say it's like a 1 inch off the ground or 3/4 of an inch off the ground. It's hitting your tire at that mark at 3/4 inch up. Okay. And it only has the length of the tire for you to be in that beam. And that's how that beam works. Well, if you put yours in the same spot every time, your car is going to be more consistent, right? It has nothing to do with reaction time. You're using the same exact length of the track. So when you're talking 10,000ths of a second, that's measuring that, right? I mean, it makes a huge difference over and over and over. A lot of it's driver skill and driver aid. That I don't like driver aid. I don't like driver aid. But what I have seen when the delay box came out, and when was that? Probably what, 95?
Yeah, it was in the 90s.
When the delay box came out, it was a big hubbub that it's not exact, and it's not, right? It's just an electronic best guess, because you're dialing in somebody else's time. Now they're going to be relatively close, but they're going to be a little bit off, right? Or are they holding, or did they dial down? So that's a good bracket racer. A delay box just makes some great bracket racer. Okay. It doesn't fix that you suck at bracket racing. Delay box doesn't, or even any of the electronics. It doesn't fix that you suck at it, right? It's just a crutch. Yeah, it just makes you a little bit better. Mm-hmm. Now, if you take somebody that's badass and then give them a delay box, they're going to be murderous. But it'll be like shooting fish in a barrel. And it takes the sport out of it. But what I have seen in the past, when everybody was foot braking, even the fast classes before they had the delay box, there was guys that were so good at foot braking, they would murder the dudes with the delay box.
Oh yeah.
And that's the ones I was looking for. That was the ones when I was running the AHRA, I wanted those headhunters. Somebody with real skill, somebody that didn't delay, didn't rely on the delay box, somebody that, isn't that what auto racing is all about? Is driver skill. It's not to measure who has the best electronics package.
Yeah.
It's about driver skill. So
go down to 8 down there. There's really not much beyond that.
8 o'clock. Okay.
KJ Kylie.
Okay. 1.7 rocker arms on my Magnum. Should I be concerned about valve guide wear for a street car?
No. What I'd be more concerned about on that is going to be, making sure that you're not going to bottom out the valve or compress the spring. But as valve guide wear, all you're doing is just lifting it more, and that's it. You just want to make sure you're not going to go into coil bind, piston to valve clearance, and a few other things. If it's a totally stock engine, it should. Keyword is should be okay. They've built in 100,000s on those things as far as coil bind. And going from a 1.6 to a 1.7, you're going to gain like 30 thousandths of lift, maybe a degree of duration. So it really, unless you're changing the cam big time, it's going to be hard to notice by seat of the pants. Just my opinion. I think that on YouTube, people have done back-to-back studies on these on dynos, and it's so negligible, the actual improvement.
I don't know. There is a gain in it, and I'll tell you where I've seen it. Like not so much from a 1.6 to 1.7 ratio are you going to see anything.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, but NASCAR went from
2.1.
like, yeah, they went from like 1.5, 1.6 to like 2.1.
Yeah,
and
2.1 to 2.3.
How all that worked is all as a big package, right? The ratio got much higher, so you had less lift on the camshaft, which had less rotational mass. It was all being multiplied in the rocker arm, right? And it gave the rocker arm more mass to the rocker arm, but it's not rotational mass, right? So it was worth, let's say, 3,000th of a horsepower per rocker arm.
It's actually different. It's actually more than that, because it's the moment of inertia. So what it is as the lifter's moving up, the lifter has to move up less amount to get the same amount of lift. Let's just say 750 with a 2.1 means you don't have to lift that lifter as much. So it takes less spring pressure to control that, because you're getting a mechanical advantage going the other way, because you're getting a higher ratio of effort pushing the lifter down. So to change direction on the lifter at 9,000 RPM is much easier if it's only going, say, 300,000 than if it's going 500,000. That's where it's at. And then you get the advantage on the spring pressure. So it's actually 2-in-1. And because you can actually you run a bigger journal on the camshaft, you can put anything that's bigger, you can put a lot more information on there. It's just like running a difference between an album and a slow play record. Just a regular 33 or whatever,
or 45. People might not even get that reference anymore.
Well, yeah, right. Okay, So the one's an album. It's got a lot of songs on it. One's it's much smaller. So there's a lot more information on when it's bigger. So you can actually put you can control all your different derivatives a lot better. So then you can get a much softer profile. So that way you're sending less harmonics and forces to the valve train. So it's better all the way around.
Well, and so that's what they were doing. There you go. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah.
John Wilburn says Queenstown is also anti-driver aid, that he banned shift lights and Sega. And now they're back to not even using the clutch pedal anymore, I don't think.
Yeah.
So
clutch lift shifting. Yeah. So I stopped watching Sega because of that. I lost interest in it just because it's a money game. It's a money grab.
Let's see. So Fab Racemon Repeat says Headhunter Supreme, Bill Junkman Haskell. If you ever go to Northeast Dragway, there's a guy they call Junkman. It's literally like this clapped out Mopar. And I mean, I think it's a duster. It might be a demon, but it is extremely clapped out. And they call him the Junkman because he junks stuff. I mean, he's a junker, right? And he's built the whole car out of junk parts. And he literally runs them in the ground. And he might be in, like, say, 2 different classes. He'll be in the box and no box class both at the same time, and then doubled up in street, and he might win them all and never have a box in the whole car, no electronics, no nothing. And that's the people I was looking for in the AHRA. And those are the ones I wanted to promote because they got driver skill, man. And I'm telling you, you give them dudes a delay box, they're going to put a hurting on everyone. But it's to each his own. That guy right there, Bill Junkman, he wouldn't have a delay box if it was making him dinner, right? He didn't care. Let's see. Okay. All right.
Colleen, no, I didn't watch Damien's last video. I haven't really watched anyone's videos. I've been working on other things.
Okay. Tall garage. Shane, you asked me what RPM is the Hemi going to turn, and I don't know a streetcar RPM numbers unless I'm feeling froggy and go to the track.
A Gen 3 Hemi's valve train is really stable up to about 8,500. Just factory stuff, just the way it sets, 7 to 7,500 with a good spring. So that's plenty good for most any street car. So, yeah.
Okay. LC2 Kid, ever messed with the XDA comp push rods?
I have not.
I don't know what those even are.
I think those are the ones that are
Would be extra duty something, hence the XD. But I most of the stuff that I use is I don't say that, you know, like I don't do it. Either I'm using a stock push rod or I'm buying them from Smith Brothers. That's pretty much what I got. Now
the XDAs are the ones that are the adjustable ones, I believe. So it's basically two pieces, a push rod, and then you can put like shims in them to get them a certain length, so that way you can shim them up or make them longer or shorter. They're basically adjustable, so you can adjust them from like 7.95 to like 8.182. I've seen them. I've never messed with them personally because I always just had regular, just push rods. I always had my adjustments at the valve. I mean, at the rocker. I'm sorry.
Let's see. Levi is saying, I believe that probably hard to make money at that. Probably the junk. He was talking about the junk man.
Oh,
junk and stuff, I think. Okay. KJ Kiley. 3.9 V6, 5.9 throttle body. Headers, too lazy to install a cam. Rockers not worth the money.
On a 3.9.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you there. They probably don't make a lot of parts for the 3.9.
Well, a 3.9 is basically just, I think it's like a 318 or 360. It's just two less cylinders on it. It's one of those things, man. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
It's not worth the squeeze. Let's put it that way.
LC2 Kid is saying 2-piece push rod that goes inside each other, supposedly to really help with harmonics. Okay, here's what I know about harmonics, because I did a lot of this just in my world. When I was in the Navy, my job was to find submarines underwater. And we would look at first, second, third order harmonics of acoustic sound, right? But it all works the same way. It doesn't matter if it's sound like acoustically that you can hear it, or ultrasonically, or all the way up into you start talking about RF, like radio frequency. Okay. Resonant frequencies are controlled essentially by the wavelength, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your antenna in this case would be your push rod, and your wavelength would essentially be the RPM that you're running. Okay. That push rod, if you vary the length of that push rod, it changes when the harmonics their capability sets in. The problem is generally all push rods are the same length. All right. So now if you were to do something like have adjustable rockers and you make each individual push rod and you'd have to get within you can't do like 1,000th is the difference. But if you change the height of every single one of them, right, they would all have a different resonant frequency, and it'd all be within probably like 1,000 RPM window. All right. But if you could actually make that thing shorter, and then your frequency would go up, so it would move the RPM band up, right? Now there is what I have seen in the past is, you know how it's got like the 5/16 ball on one end and then a 5/16 ball on the other end, is you taper the push rod right? So it starts off small and then gets bigger as it goes through the center, because that's going to affect the harmonics of that push rod as well. But I have seen where harmonics cause the push rods to turn blue in the middle of the push rod. They're not hitting on anything or nothing. It's just the frequency at which they're flexing is resonant frequency of the push rod itself.
Yeah.
Right. The other things you could do is you could change from a hollow push rod to a solid push rod, or you could take your hollow push rods and fill them with some kind of material like a rubber, and then convert it over to a solid style push rod oiling system where it's going to have a hole through the block up through the rocker stands. Yeah.
Looking at these things, and now that I see them here, typically these are designed for people who want the adjustability. Like, say you have an LS and you're running stock rockers and you have no way to adjust it for like a solid. That's what these are for. And they adjust with shims. That's really all they are. That's what they're for. So that's what I figured they were for. I just wanted to make sure as you were talking, as I was talking here. So as far as helping with RPM, I know that we've tested these things to really incredibly high RPMs, like 9,000 RPM, so it will handle it. But that's all really they are for, is for people who want adjustability but don't want to put an adjustable rocker on there.
So Dan Garage is saying, weird thing, project truck rolled easily until I put the drive shaft in. 727 now rolls well forward in neutral, but it's hard to push back in neutral. And then, so a couple people chimed in here. Danny Boyd says band adjustment.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is he's turning the reverse band.
Oh, and then John Wilbert says sounds like the parking brake. I'm assuming it rolled fine backwards and forwards, and now all he did was put the drive shaft in, and it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
So that would eliminate the parking brake. But does the drum in there rub on the band as you're moving forward or backwards?
Yeah, the low reverse band is literally at the back, and that is if you put it into first gear, that's your low clamp, and then also reverse clamp. And when you're turning that in reverse, it's got like a 2.4 something or 2.5 something reverse gear. So it's actually a relatively high one. So when you're pushing it in reverse, you're actually spinning that the wrong direction fast.
And it doesn't like that. So it multiplies it.
Yeah.
So even if it's got 100 pounds of friction on it, it's going to be 200 pounds being multiplied.
Yeah. Or it could just be the clutches are just a little tight. Sometimes when those things are put together, some of the oil comes out if they weren't soaked good. The clutch stack wasn't soaked well. Just could be easy, something like that.
Dylan Levi's saying, I'm just worried for our local heads up racing small tire race head 5. Hey, well, that's actually the way that heads up racing goes. No offense, and I don't want you to put too much thought into this. Heads up racing is ebbs and flows, right? It's the new thing, and everybody wants to do it, and then they find out the one guy gets it all figured out because he spent his life savings on it, and they can't keep up with them, so they all quit.
Yeah,
and then the big one is when everyone goes back to realizing that bracket racing is the most fair and simple way for everyone to go racing and be competitive against each other.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think it's ever going to go back that way because the electronics has ruined it. The guys showing up with the stacker toter homes and 15 pit bikes, and that's ruined it. And, it got out of hand. It used to be like in the 90s. Oh man, 90s was freaking badass for bracket
it was
racing.
Fun to bracket race back then. I did a lot of it, and it was boring.
It was a different animal, man, because there'd be 50 people doing the same thing that you're doing, right? Which is go there, have fun on the weekend. Then there's like 50 more people just there with their family, and they might even start drinking beer at noon and totally not even care about racing the rest of the day. It was just a different animal. No one cared. And then it got too damn serious.
The money
is really what happened. Yeah.
The money's what fucked it all up. It really is, because they got these purses that were $500,000, $250,000, and then, just, I don't know. Money ruins everything. It seems like.
Yeah, it does seem that way.
Yeah.
And that's where, I always wanted to put a race together where it was like no electronics whatsoever, right? No
Yeah.
E is what I was going to call it. No E bracket race. The real heavies of the heavies. And
hmm
I wanted to see if the fun would come back around, you know?
I often, me and Dallas talk pretty much every morning, and there's been times where we've talked about the best times of our lives drag racing. Now, my car's the fastest, it's kind of ever been, right? It's fun, but I think a 13-second car when I had in the mid 90s, I had a 13-second car. That was
The
the
most
most
fun. Yeah,
I
that's the
ever
most
had.
fun.
I could drive that thing everywhere. I was at a race, literally at every light, and you're at the drag strip. You're kind of mid pack with a 13 car, and you could drive it home. It was
I
so
like
much
to
fun.
I like to open up the trunk, pulling the slicks out, get the
Yeah.
factory jack out, change the tires,
Yep.
and go up there and have a freaking blast. And when I got done, I got beat. No big deal. I jack it up, take the tires off, and I was usually out of there before the guy that beat me went to the next round.
Yeah.
I drive home with my air conditioner on. I'd stop and get some food if I wanted to. I mean, it was fun and enjoyable.
hmm
Now it's just gotten out of hand, and there's nothing. I don't think there's really anything enjoyable about it. You don't enjoy watching it. It's
No.
never been a good spectator sport because all of the stuff happens at the stripe where the seats are all the way at the starting line,
Yeah. At
right?
the beginning, the most boring part.
Yeah. And you're like, who cares how close it was at the end? I couldn't tell because I wasn't there. I wanted to see the guy tear the rear bumper off when he was leaving. Um, if you were, that's why I like no name nationals, because I don't
And
take it seriously,
yeah,
right?
it's fun, right?
I just go there to hang out with you guys and have a good time. Hopefully my car runs well. If it don't, it don't. Let's load it up and go home. It's my one event of the year. I don't really care how I do. I just want to do the best I can. But if I go
Mhm.
out first round because I red lighted or because I
Whatever.
got beat, it doesn't matter. You
Yeah.
know what? That gives me more time to drink beer and hang out with whoever's pitted next to me. So and maybe we'll grill some hot dogs and watch a burnout contest.
Hot dogs, man. Clint got spoiled last man. I made him shrimp and steak, man.
Dude, I was there for that. I had
Oh
shrimp and
yeah, you
steak
had some
too.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had
Yeah.
shrimp
I
and
was too
steak.
busy crying all over my shrimp and steak, but
Dude, that was you got to say that was good shrimp and
it
steak
was. It
for
was a good. I had a good time. I
yeah.
look forward to going to No Name Nationals every year because it's like literally like the one time I get to just hang out. I don't have any expectations of myself or anyone else. It's just go there, enjoy it, and that's that.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I think it's part of this economy. And the economy could be affecting it. It
True.
seems to affect all drag racing pretty drastically because that's all what they used to call expendable income, right? And no one has expendable income at the moment. Everything costs 45 times as much. And the last thing to catch up is your pay. How come no one preemptively, hey, we're going to inflate the economy? Why don't we pay you more ahead? Nobody does that. Um, let's see. Fab Race Mod repeat 100% on the blue heat mark push rods. Oh, okay. Yeah. I've seen them before. And that's the only thing that we can come up with is this resonating.
I'm going
Okay.
to show you a little video real quick. You're going to get up to it. Actually, no, when you get up there, you'll see. You'll get to it. Oh, you're way behind. Okay.
Yeah, Hippie Miller saying money is the root of all evil. Let's see. Thoughts on the percent ethanol of 85 benefits going away. 87. Oh, I watched a video on this not too
Me
long ago.
too.
It
I
was
was just going to say
47%.
47% is the number. It's fun. Nitromethanes, right? Once you get over 30, when you get into 40 is when it really gets interesting. Same thing with ethanol. 47%. That's the number. That's funny.
Let's see.
Get down to 4. Oh, yeah.
When big money swoops in to usurp the grassroots and swipe their revenue stream, big money ruin whatever it is. And it's just been that way every time. Unfortunately, it's now the small tire class. If you haven't noticed, big tire fell off the wagon probably 4 or 5 years ago, because nobody could keep up with them guys.
Yeah.
I mean, and so they went to small tire, and that was the big thing for now. And it'll be gone in a couple of years. It'll run its course. It's the Nopi of 2024. And if you don't know what that is, go Google some Nopi. But
and go to 819. Yeah. Oh.
819. Okay. Uh-oh. Tony's Hot Rod Garage is giving me an amen, Dallas. Well, hopefully I said something that was worthwhile there.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more down from that one.
Who is it? Who are we looking for? Big Block 402?
Yeah. So what's funny about this is that at the track, who do you think shows up there? But here I have a little video.
Oh, that's Candy Cane in the other lane.
Yeah. I was waiting for him to come in. He said he couldn't hear his car going down the whole track. Yeah. That was at Newport. See, it leaves so slow.
Okay, so Michael Schmidt, 47% ethanol is where you start to get the effects of ethanol.
Yeah.
So when you get to 47% ethanol over gasoline, so you would technically have like a E47 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you start to get the effects of the ethanol.
Yep.
And you start to get all the benefits, which is good because you can technically go buy E85 in a can and then add some straight gasoline to it till you get down to 47%. And you got kind of the best of the both worlds. It's going to get better fuel economy and make all of the benefits where the extra timing and all that for ethanol. Yeah. So, I mean, if you really wanted the cheap race fuel, that's the way you do it. Go get some E85, cut it with 93, and it's going to last you quite a while.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to figure out how to jet the sucker.
Yeah. Candy Cane's running pretty good, man. I liked his truck.
Yeah. He says that I spun through first, but it was fun.
Yeah. Well, that's a hard track to hook at. So my car is only doing it because it dead hooks pretty much everything right now. With a power glide. It's just
Nopi Nationals, when Googled, says permanently closed.
Dude,
yeah, well, you know what? In about 2002, those suckers were at every drag strip on the planet.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
And while we got everyone in here too, I just wanted to give a little reminder. After this one, go straight over to John Wilburn. He's going to have RT211 Racing. He's trying to get his 500 subs for the No Name National. So go from ours directly over to him at 9 o'clock. And let's see where he's at right now, because we're hoping to 449. Now he got one. If any one of our subs want to put up his link, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, any of the mods wants to throw up the link, which John just put it up right now.
John,
so here you go.
Thank you.
Go visit this and sub to Mr. Ross Rennie.
Michael Schmidt, no, that is a 422 small block Mopar. It makes some beans. Even on that day, I went 109 at that track. So not that pass. That pass, I basically went out and I let off about probably about the 500 mark. I didn't know how the stopping was going to be because there's a lot of potholes down there. So basically ran it about just past the 330 mark, and then I let off just so I could coast through, make sure I was going to stop, because it's a very small shutdown. You're kind of dodging potholes, and then you have to make a U-turn and go into a very small strip. So yeah, the first pass you always just go down, just see how things are going to work out.
Sodbuster says next weekend is one of the best no prep races of the year at War in the Woods at Brown County, Indiana. I was looking at sanction them guys a long time ago, and I think they sold the track. So Brown County is, if you've never been there, is that's definitely an awesome no prep event because I don't think they even prepared the asphalt for the track, right?
No.
Like before they put it down. Right? But that's a rough one. That'd be like what your Newport dragway would be.
If I remember correctly, that actually has grass between the two lanes.
Oh, it
If
might. There's a
they
couple of
just
them up there like that.
yeah, they just added concrete and put asphalt between there, so that way you didn't go off the track and then hit that edge and then become airborne.
Huh. But I like watching those no prep events and not so much betting on who wins, but betting on who crashes. I mean, because it used to be when that first couple of years and that was the new thing. Oh my God, it was like every other car. So
yeah.
all right. But thanks for letting everybody know, Sodbuster. That's probably going to be a pretty good time there.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm seeing John has the same thoughts I do. War in the Woods is a place to wreck.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a place to watch wrecks.
Yeah, Laris Motorsports won't even put insurance on the no prep car. Let's see. He said he murdered the tree with an 014 light.
Yeah, it's a 5/10 tree, so I just on a trans brake I just waited until it was green and I left. I don't even know. Mine was like a 2 something. When it's a 5/10 tree, I don't even care.
Oh, so Levi's saying that they put the concrete in the middle.
They did, yeah. No, not all the way down though. I don't think it's all the way. I think at the very beginning it's still grass.
Might be
But I think
open
I think after the 330 mark, maybe they did concrete the whole way. But the last one I did watch at the beginning of the year, it still had open there.
Let's see. Michael Schmidt says 47%. How would one determine the jetting using adjustable main jets to tune the fuel mix? I guess what air fuel ratio would one tune to? Any clue? I'll tell you what I would. This one's okay. One, alcohol is more forgiving than gasoline. Okay,
Yes.
and you're running 47% ethanol, so it's 40% more forgiving than gasoline.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably, let's see, if you're doing 47%, if you're running E85, which is 85%, which would be almost double this, right? You got to go 30% more. So it'd be 15% more, and that's where I would start. And then I would just look at my plugs.
I was just going to say 15% more because typically E85 is 30%. I would start 15% more. Look at your plugs and just look for lean spots because it's really hard to go. Well, I shouldn't say really hard, but you can overwork them and then be fine.
The best thing to do would be start at that 15% and go drive it around.
Yeah.
And then like find your lean spots and your throttle and does add more jet fix anything. You're going to remember like you're going to need quite a bit more fuel. So I would say that you're probably going to go down in air bleed size and probably up quite a bit in jet, maybe 5 to 10. So
Yeah, PTL Fabrication says I like to watch no prep, not race. Agreed.
Yeah, it's fun to watch.
Well, it's fun to watch.
But
you can't have a really good car in that. You can't have one that you like or have had it for a long time.
Let's see. Michael Schmidt says, big question. Is there a buy-in at No Name Nationals for non-YouTubers that show up? No, you have to have a channel and it has to have 500 subs or you're not coming.
And that's how you take the money out of it right there. That makes it, you have to put a little sweat equity into the game. That's the whole point of it.
Well, if you go back and look at the first year, okay, every year when we do No Name Nationals, then John and I would announce it. There'd be this huge crop of folks jump in and they'd make announcement videos. I'm going to No Name Nationals. And then it's like, they show you a horn button. I got to build the rest of the car. And you're like, yeah, that guy ain't going to make it. Right. But then the other ones would be there. I'm going to No Name Nationals. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. And then when they find out that getting 500 subs actually takes a lot of thought and effort on their part, they quit like 2 weeks in. There was guys, there must have been 20 announcement videos the first year of people that were coming, and you never saw another video again from that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Not one, right? And it was like, oh crap, maybe we're onto something here. But everybody that made it there all wanted to be there because they put the sweat equity in to get the subs, right? So I don't know, it worked out pretty good.
I was one of those people for the very first one. I registered and I had to get 500 subs. Yeah.
Well, and I was the same way, but I already had my subs, I think, when we started. But I started Mr. Rodder's Neighborhood, and I think I was shooting for 500 subs on that before I would even go. So, because I had the AHRA channel before that, and I already had that thing had like 2,500 or 3,000 subs or something. So, let's see. Michael Schmidt, Spectator weekend passes are available now. $35 online, 40 at the gate.
And it's a good time, man. I'm telling you right now, that would be the best $40 or $35
for a weekend.
For a weekend,
dude, go to Walmart. You buy a freaking $25 tent, right?
Yeah. That's Thursday night, Friday, and then Saturday. Friday night, and then Saturday. You know, you have the car show, the pop-up car show on Thursday. Then you're going to have the next day you're going to have bracket racing. Then you're going to have the burnout competition. Then you're going to have the monkey bike. Then you're going to 20, 10, 50. Man, it's an awesome time. Grudge racing, call outs. It's awesome.
Hanging out in the pits. Okay, if you, let's say you could have a weekend for $100 and do what you enjoy, right? The first year we did, and we'll probably do it again this year because I haven't had no reason not to do it. Last year I didn't feel like doing it because I just was like poop. You know, my wife had left me and my life was turned upside down and all that stuff everything was just a mess. This year, you know, I got my wits about me, but the first year we did a thing called, what did I call it? When we did the meat, where everybody grilled some kind of meat, and we walked
the meat
around.
Candy. Meat candy.
Well, that meat candy is what Ron called my wife's ribs.
Oh.
But we were walking around. It was like public grill, a barbecue or something like that. Public barbecue. I can't remember what we called it.
Mm-hmm.
And you could literally walk into anybody's pit, grab some food off their grill, and throw it in a bun, or not even throw it in a bun, throw it on a plate, right? And just start chewing on it and hanging out with them. And that turned into like a big thing where everybody just got social after the evening, and it just, everybody hung out. Like last year was fantastic. Everybody would hang out for 2-3 hours afterwards.
Yeah, it was awesome. I'm definitely going to stay at the track. I remember the one year I didn't, but this last one I did. I'm always going to stay at the track now. It's so much better. Kids go to bed, and I get to ride around on my beach cruiser. It's cool.
Yeah, I had a good time. That was probably my favorite. Well, that was my favorite week of last year, right? So, Tony's Hot Rods Garage says, speaking of carburetor tuning, Shane, what are your thoughts on that 850 VRS to tame my truck on the street? 6 inches of vacuum at idle, 15 at cruising. You know what kind of tuning nightmare that can be.
On the VRS, it's going to be really nothing. It actually would eat that up really well. If you really watch Unity Motorsports, he's got a tunnel ram with a huge engine, and he literally dropped them on there, and it runs great. I've seen it, but the 850, it might be a little big. I'm not really sure your engine combination or the cubic inches or the RPM or anything like that. You know, if you put it in the comments, you know, that kind of stuff, I'll tell you if that work. Sometimes the 7050 might be a little better, but the VRS is an incredible carburetor. I got to tell you, it's an amazing carburetor.
Dust Devil Garage says some of us horn button guys make it eventually, and I wasn't trying to poke you in the eye, Brian, because you did an excellent job of getting there. And you
was that him? He's the horn button guy.
No, there
Oh,
was nobody that was really in that situation. But I mean,
okay.
like Brian had his work cut out for him. He literally had a shell and was like, "Dude, this is what I'm doing. I'm coming to this event." And you're like, "Oh, Brian, that's a shell. Like you got to build a whole entire car."
Yeah.
Uh, and I think the only thing that tripped him up was like at the end was like wiring or something. He couldn't get the car right. Like it wouldn't run right.
Mm-hmm. For me, it was brakes. Brakes work
Yeah.
great now, by the way. I gotta tell you.
Tom Brown says, I'm still waiting to come up with my money or enough money to buy my entry fee. Things are tight right now. Well, I'll tell you what, man, like I said, you probably have more money in fuel coming down to No Name Nationals than you would expenses at No Name Nationals. So uh, even if you don't make it subs wise, just come on down, man.
Yeah, it's totally worth it.
So Stephen Myrick is saying the cruise to Lambert's is the fun. So I don't know. I think if I bring the T-Bird again this year, like, because I gotta fix that high geared drum assembly,
Yeah.
and I gotta get the jets going. I might cruise the Lamberts, man.
Dude,
I
if
might
you do
do it
that,
open headers and the whole 9 yards.
I'll take the Cookie Monster if you take yours.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if I have enough fuel to get there and back.
How big's
Like,
your tank? Well, they've got
it,
trucks.
yeah, but like, I think it's 1 gallon or 2 gallons. It might be 3,
Oh,
but
I've got a 10-gallon in mine. Well, because I want to run the streetcar class, you got to have at least a 10-gallon tank. Oh, actually, mine's a 15-gallon tank.
yeah, mine is not messing around. Like your fuel line might hold more,
Oh,
right? Like it's small. But I think I might take it, and then, man, because that's a lot of tickets. That thing don't have turn signals or nothing, right?
mine's a streetcar.
Yeah, mine's not.
Yeah, turn signals in Missouri is still you can still use your hands.
I'm sure you can, but I
Yeah.
don't have brake lights or anything.
Oh, I got brake lights. I got all that stuff. I got
I
headlights.
don't have that stuff.
Do you have headlights?
I do.
Okay.
I have taillights. Let's see. John Wilburn saying the best way to sell someone on building a channel for next year, they come as a spectator this year. Lots and lots of that.
Yeah.
That happened the first year, and then a lot of them came back as participants. And I think you're right. It is perpetuating itself when they come and check it out. Like, especially, now I'll tell you, okay, the way it goes is like the first night when you cruise to Lambert's and you come back, that's not really the No Name Nationals. That's just like the kickoff to the No Name Nationals, right? Yeah. And it kind of sets the mood. And then the No Name Nationals the next day is when it really happens. Okay. And by the time the sun goes down on that, what is it, Thursday night? No, it's Friday night, right? Because we do the cruise to Lambert's
on Thursday, and then the cruise is on Thursday.
Yeah, and then Friday is the actual race, right? So that's when everything starts. By the time the sun goes down on Friday, and you're getting ready to do the burnout contest, you're generally so wiped out just from that long day that when you go to that burnout contest, it's like a welcomed break in it all. And you can tell who is taking themselves serious and who is not.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, some of them were out there racing all day, put beater tires on their car, go blow them up, and then come out of the place. And that's where it has like the entire ambiance changes at the place when it goes to that burnout contest.
My kids loved it. They thought that was the greatest thing. Oh yeah, they loved that. Yeah.
So Dylan Levi saying we are staying at the track for the people. It is the best event we go to every year so far. Well, thanks. I'd like to think that John and I are trying to keep up that reputation. Stephen Myrick says I slept in my truck for 2 nights. Glad they have facilities there. Yeah.
Yeah. They have showers there.
Kim fixes it. Let's see. Kim fixes things. I thought. Okay. Buffdale Campo has 100 videos and is still struggling at 400 subscribers. There is no doubt that 500 takes serious effort for most people. Yes. It does. And it just depends. I mean, the biggest thing that you like, I don't know if Buff goes to the content creators workshops. I don't know if Buff does anything outside of just making the video and putting it up. I don't really know. I don't watch a lot of YouTube, and I'm pretty guilty of most of that because I don't watch a lot of TV, and I try to keep my mind preoccupied, right? So especially at the moment. So I have a ton of videos and I don't have a ton of subscribers. And I think it really has to depend on how well you title them, what the content is about. Is it you see, the hardest thing that I ever had to do for making a YouTube video is making something that's timeless. Right? Most of the stuff that you do on YouTube is literally just like a ticking time bomb. It's only got like a 2-week shelf life, and then people completely forget all about it. Making something that's timeless on YouTube is very hard.
Yeah,
let's see.
It's true. John Wilburn right below that. Yeah, that was funny. And dude, straw hats are the thing, man. I gotta tell you, I love my straw hats.
I do my straw hat, so
I love
it keeps your ears from getting burnt. It's a SoCal thing, but it works anywhere, any damn drag strip where you have no trees.
That's right.
Yep. John Wilburn. Kimmy should build the 727 you tore down on his channel and give that and win what I'm giving away on Friday. Let's see. Mohawk 62 says that's what happened to me, John. Came as a spectator the first year, got my subs, and came back as a participant. What an awesome time both years.
There you go.
And you guys are more than welcome to do that. I mean, the spectators, you're more than welcome to just show up, even if you don't have a YouTube channel. You just like watching this stuff. It is a good time, I promise. It's probably going to be one of the cheapest, most enjoyable weekends you've had in a long time. That's what it was centered around. It was actually centered around everybody being able to bring a family and be comfortable that your family was there and not in an environment with a bunch of drunks or drug addicts or anything that would be ill will towards your family.
Yes. My kids literally were feral. If you were at the last one, my twins, my boy and girl twin, they're on scooters. And I just told them, just come back. You got to watch the front. And I left. I just kind of did my own thing. They were selling shirts and riding around, and they just went wild. It was they loved it. I didn't have a care in the world.
Well, it was a good time. But see, everybody was there knew that was Professor P's kids, and if they were getting into trouble, it was like, hey, straighten it out. And then you go find Shane and tell him, hey, I'm just straightening your kids out, and he'd take care of it.
Yeah,
it was like everybody's working as a big family. The community raising your kids.
Oh,
Andy
go back
says,
up one more up.
Okay. Tony's Hot Rod Garage says 451 big block, 6,500 RPM. I've already added jet to the 850 Mighty Demon to get 12.5 at wide open throttle.
Okay. The Mighty Demon's a 2-circuit. The VRS is a 4-circuit. So it's definitely going to help out with that and cure
drivability will get so much better.
Yeah, and your drivability is going to get better because it's got a low, it's got 2 mid circuits, a low and a high. So it's basically your transfer from low and your transfer to high. It should cure that fairly easily. Yeah, it's going to work beautifully. I would get the 850 VRS.
Let's see, PTL Fabrication saying we run 85 in several cars, 2 critical items, large fuel system, and content testing.
Yes.
And I think if you were to drop it down to that 47, I don't think you would need all that stuff.
Well, you would need to know at least the content of it before you mixed it.
Oh,
so that would, that's the only thing you would need to know. But yes, he is absolutely right on those 2. Large fuel system, 30% bigger. I would actually tell people to go 50% bigger than what they really need, and then tester, so that way you know exactly what you're putting in there.
Kim Fixes Things says maybe you can convince him I built my own 727 by myself. Buff only seems interested in Tuesday Night Lives, and those don't seem to grow subscribers. I'll tell you right now for a fact, lives do not grow subscribers.
Nope.
Yeah, they keep the crowd that you already have and entertain, and it'll grow slowly. 1-2s watching, not a big deal. Make your content, get your content out there. No one watches lives. No one watches them. outside of like reference material. Like I want to know how to set my plugs. They're not looking at your live.
Yeah, and the thing is too is that the live is only for like right now or the people for tomorrow that know about it. Other than that, that's why your most lives only get 300 watches.
Let's see. Dallas, I run C12. We can siphon out fuel from my car. Dallas says turn signals not needed. My car doesn't have them. Oh, okay. Well, and I can totally drive it there. C12. I don't know what that is. Is that oxygen fuel?
No, that's C12
Is that
is just
unleaded?
no, it's leaded. It's lead
No, I need to
112
run.
octane.
I need unleaded. Otherwise, it burns up my O2 sensors.
I just get extra two O2 sensors.
They're freaking stupid money. They're like $500 a whack.
Really? For yours?
Yeah.
Why? What kind are they?
One is what is it? NTK. The one that comes on Holly HB.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it's an NGK. Might be NGK. I don't know. But
Take
one
a
of them is
of the
one
plug.
of them super expensive. Oh, all right. Yeah, I will.
Yeah, take it because they have a couple different ones and they have a newer style out. But I have access to that kind of stuff, and I don't think they're over $80.
Oh, really? They used to be stupid expensive.
No, they're cheap, man. They're really cheap.
Oh, wow. Wait, you know what? I might. Well, and that's the difference between 2012 when you put it together. Because I broke the O2 sensor off the first week I got the damn thing and had to buy a new one. And I'm like, man, I'm not fucking that up again.
No, I've got O2 sensors in my race car right now. I just got an extra set. It's cheap. It's totally cheap to run fuel that anyone can get. Because your car would run on 110 then, right? What your compression's like? What, 10 to 1?
I can run on 100 octane.
Yeah, well, you can get 110 would be safe and it's inexpensive. And you can get it anywhere.
Yes, that's what I should do then, I guess. Let's see.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need turn signals or brake lights in Missouri. I looked into that.
Yeah, One on Cat. We're a prime example of spectator turned participant, and my car is safe again now. So yeah, that's well, Don is they were the first ones there, I think, to show up the first year. And they got out of the car like, hey, we just drove 700 miles. What do we want to work on right now? And it's like, dang, guys, slow down. Me and John aren't even in this much of a hurry. Right? Let's see. And Don says that No Name Nationals is our anniversary present for both of us from now on. Well, good deal.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Tom Brown saying, have you guys ever run one of those Lock-Right clicky axle lockers? Are they okay for racing? We use them off-road, but never had one on a car. Is that a ratcheting style?
Yeah,
like Detroit locker.
No. It's the one that it's like the ones like the Lock-Right. You actually put it in your. It's like it's not a Lincoln locker, but it's one of those. It's like an insert that you put inside where the spider gears are.
Oh, I don't see why those would be a problem, especially for like.
Under 400 foot-pounds of torque.
Well, in the Buick world, the 8.2 BOP rear end, I think it was just a Buick rear end, 8.2, but it's strong as a 12 bolt. But you cannot buy parts for them anymore. But they sell those things, and so like, if that's the only thing you got, I tell you what, I'd put one of those in there, and I just put street tires on the car. You're going to spin the tire before you freaking break that thing. Let's see.
Before you go to this, Tony's Hot Rod Garage saying 110 leaded is 21 gallons around here. Where I live at, they have it at the pump. Even in this place, I found it now 110 at the pump, and it's $10 a gallon at the pump. You can drive right up, put 110 right into the pump.
Did we just get a super chat?
Yeah, Michael Schmidt hooked you up.
Oh man. He said, this is cheap entertainment and learning. Thanks for sharing. Well, thanks so much, Michael.
Yeah.
We appreciate you guys coming here, and you're the ones that we do this for. I mean,
the only reason why we do this.
And be honest with you, I'm going to buy Professor P is going to get some burger and dog at the at No Name National. So
we're going to cook you guys.
Actually, maybe that's what we should do is take that cash and just cook something with it.
Well, that's what we're going to do. Is I already told people all the money I got when it comes to No Name National. I think it's Friday night. I'm just going to have a grill going with hot dogs and burgers. Just come by and pick it up.
What in the world? Okay, so hey Dallas, did you know Levi's Backyard Performance and Brooke are getting married at this year's No Name Nationals? There has been talk of anyway.
Oh,
Well, that would be pretty cool if they did.
yeah.
Should we get Dizzy Izzy to officiate or Barkley Schmidt? Barkley after the event's over. Uh, I can. That would be definitely a good time. But
Yeah.
I think that'd be interesting if they did that. Let's see
Oh,
here.
Bad Tree Production showed up.
Oh, really? He's coming here
Yeah.
to snipe our. He's sniping the crowd and then heading out somewhere. Let's see. Tony's Hot Rod Garage. Thanks for the input, Shane. $960, a bunch of money for another car. I've got almost that in the Demon. I only want to do it once again. Well, I'll tell you how that works. You buy the new one, put it on, find out how much better it runs, sell the old one,
Yep.
and get
And
your
then you're
money back.
only just extra money into it.
Yeah. Let's see. Levi says I ran leaded fuel on my O2 sensor since the car was put together. Oh, I don't know what to tell you, dude. I just remember breaking that one and it was being a freaking pile of money. And then it specifically said in the Holly HP instructions, do not run leaded fuel on these O2 sensors.
Yeah, Levi, on my car, I usually get about 3 years on them. And then I notice that they'll start, you know your car, you know it's running, and you start getting the variance, and you're like, yeah.
Okay, Tony's Hot Rod Garage is $21 a gallon around there. Is
Yeah,
that? Are you
that
buying it by the 5-gallon can?
even if the 5 gallon can, it's still only like here, it's only man, it's only
$9.90 or something is what I saw it the other day.
yeah, it's like $9 a gallon, even if you
Yeah,
buy it in 5 gallon can. And
man,
and
maybe I
it
should bring some to No Name Nationals in a 55-gallon drum,
right.
like Barkley. But Barkley would be mad if I did that. Let's see. Blue Grit Garage says, my daughter, brother, and I made the first No Name Nationals, the first two No Name Nationals. Hope to get the 500 subs this year. If not, maybe make a practice toe and a cardboard sign. Either way, we were looking forward to 2024. Well, we hope to have you there. I mean, definitely get with John Wilburn and get in on that content creators workshop. And that helped out a lot of guys the first year, big time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, too, if you're getting close, like to that 450 mark, like right now, RT211 Racing, he's got 456 subscribers. So we just, we kind of helped him out only with 10, but still. But yeah, it does help out. Just go and do something with Wilburn.
Well, so Dylan Levi said I didn't read the instructions. I can believe that. As many turbocharged LS applications that the Holly EFI has ended up on, there probably is like a forum for you guys. When I was doing this, the Holly EFI was brand new, and I was putting it on a Ford Cleaver, and I mean, I was reading the instructions every day. I promise. Matter of fact, when I got to start it up, I screwed up and I totally skipped over the part where you have to do the TPS auto set, so it wouldn't fire the first time. I was like, man, it's like it's not getting any fuel. So, all right. What is it? Schweers and Gears here. What's up, guys? Hope to be at the 2025 No Name Nationals. Just starting the process of painting the 40 Chevy. Fenders are out for body work right now. Body is soon to come off the chassis. Oh, awesome.
That's awesome.
I think it'd be cool.
First person referenced a year and a half from now from the 2025 No Name Nationals. That's good. That's a good goal.
Look at this. Big Block 402 Stephen Myrick says BB&T, which is the speed shop in South Haven, Mississippi, right? Has 110 VP for $65, 5 gallons.
This place right here, if this is off the 22 and South Red Banks Road, that Valero right there in green, they got it at the pump for $10. So the 22 off of South Red Banks, just go north on that Valero, it's $10 a gallon right there.
Oh, let's see. Tony's Hot Rod Garage, 5 gallons is the only way you can get it around here. Oh,
that's
I would. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's where I would start contacting a distributor and buying myself a 55-gallon drum at the beginning of the year. Let's see.
Become a dealer and buy a 55-gallon drum, and then never have to
Well,
worry
it's
about it.
almost worth it just to hire a semi truck and load it full of freaking race gas and drive it out to Phoenix if they're charging $21 a gallon.
Yeah, for real. I got a 28-foot trailer, Dallas. You want
Yeah,
to make an investment?
well, I've done this before because I was doing this with Traction Compound. It's hard to make money on it, but golly, when you do. Let's see. Okay, so Steven Myrick says I paid $94 for 5 gallons a month ago. They found it cheaper that night.
That sucks.
Yeah. And Barkley Schmidt normally brings it out to the track, so it's not $21 a gallon. I don't remember what he was charging, but I think it was only like $10 a gallon or something.
Yeah, I'm just been running the VP stuff. I tried some fuel factory stuff at first. Nah, not my favorite. I'm just gonna go back to the VP.
Dude, I'm telling you, the best thing to do with this right here, I'm taking my VP can to Valero next time to refill.
Mm-hmm.
There's a cheap, easy way around that. Okay. What you do is you buy a 55-gallon drum of it. I know you're not going to use 55 gallons. Okay. Sell it, $1 more than what you can get on the pump somewhere. Okay. Just sell it by 5-gallon pail, bring your own 5-gallon can, and then you just hand pump it out. When you're done, you're stuck with a 55-gallon drum. Then you drive up to the Valero and you fill that sucker up. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But most guys that do like street racing and stuff like that, they buy the 5-gallon can. And when you offer it cheap, because you got it, like, let's say you bought a 55-gallon drum, it might only be $7.30 a gallon, right? So you sell it for like $8.30 a gallon, right? $8 a gallon. Bring your 5-gallon gas cans, and we'll fill you up. And then you get stuck with the can, and you make your money back.
Hey, we're getting close to the 9 o'clock hour here.
Yeah.
So I wanted to plug this one more time. After this, go over to John Wilburn, John Wilburn's channel at 9 o'clock. He's going to have RT21 211, racing over there, trying to get his 500 subs. So go and check him out over there. In fact, I'm going to go check it out right after this. It'll be it's definitely worth going over there, support him, and sub him. So that way he can get there. That's his home track is Sykeston. In fact, if you go and look at his channel, I subscribe to him and I've been watching his channel for a few weeks. He does a lot of shorts with him racing his car, and he's got a fast little car. It's running low sevens, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, with small block Dodge in it, right?
I believe it's a 408. I think so. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, we are coming up on that time, and I hate to see you guys go, but
it's past 2 hours.
Yeah, it went by pretty quick. Maybe it's because I was jacking my jaw so much, but yeah. So
you got any big plans for Memorial Day?
I got to drop the transmission on my Project S10 and swap in a junkyard $137.50 replacement.
Oh, for me, it's I'm going to get Gilbert Slant and Sled together. Cam's being made right now, and finally came up with a profile on it, and we're going to drop that thing in. I'm going to make me a long block, and hopefully I might be able to start this pig this weekend. Hopefully, we'll see.
That was nice. Yeah, get that dropped in. Are we still doing a road trip?
Not sure yet. Not sure.
Well, you guys will find out about that when.
Yes.
Because I think that would be cool. Just like, boom, this is what we're doing.
Yeah. But, so it's a 408 with J heads. So that's a cast iron head. That's awesome. Those are good heads. So all right, guys. Well, we're gonna get out of here because we don't want to hold up on John Wilburn anymore. So
all right. Hey, so we'll see you cats on the flip side.
All right.
Next
you guys
week.
Take it easy. See you next week.
Yeah, well, are you gonna be back next week?
We'll see.
All right. Now we got it on video. All right. See you. We're out.